That's right, ladies and gentlemen. It's finally happened. Iran has fucked around and has found out now. Israel and United States are circling, surrounding Iran. The days of the Ayatollah, aka the homosexual, like pro, pedophilia, female rape, basically like condoning all like actions against women, all that violence. Yep. Big ups to Israel, man. Big ups. You want to know why? So we were talking about like the dark Jews, right? Here in North America, subsequently Europe, and possible other places around the world, right? But those are like the orthodoxy. Those are like people who, for lack of a better term, like they're too religious to be part of society normally. Like they have to be supported from outside means. Now, whether you agree or disagree with that is beyond like the sentiment that of all the countries, right? Not the UK, not France, not Italy, not Germany, not Ukraine, to my knowledge. Possibly Ukraine's going to jump in because of the whole Russia thing, so they're possibly going to jump in. So I'm not going to rule them out. And Poland too, because of like Poland, Finland. They're doing a super pact because I don't think they necessarily want to be part of the EU. Because Finland just doesn't want people like coming in their country, like the refugees and shit. So, can you blame them? Like what the fuck? Like you're Finland, you're like everyone's like super white and shit, blonde hair, blue eyes. And like what the fuck? I saw that one where this guy. He's like, he walks up to this car. He's like, "What? You colored people? You can't be here." Stay the fuck out of Finland! Yeah? Oh, but besides the point, the return of the Jedi Jews, my guy. The light Jews have risen. The force is strong with them. They're gonna take out Iran. I'm showing off this, like, gameplay. Risk of rain. To, like, show off how overpowered, like, this is. It's you got the United States, you have Israel, and you have like heterosexuality. You can't lose, right? Like the Jedi Jews plus the American like military have risen against the totalitarian dictatorship, theocratic dictatorship of the Ayatollah and suppression of people. Let's just go over like some of the things that these people were experiencing, okay? Under the hands of these fucking retards and shit. Number one, droughts. These idiots do not know how to manage a country. They're spending their money on military weapons and, nuclear research, this and that, missile program. When it came to their own farms and shit, nope. So they became dependent on other countries for, to feed its own population. Strike number one. Strike number two, the value of their currency just started going down. And I think that's like, people can argue whether or not it was due to the whole aggression and then subsequently the tariffs and sanctions against Iran, so that would have just hurt their GDP to like the nth degree. I think I reported back, I think late September, early October, their GDP was like basically worth nothing compared to the euro. So you couldn't even trade a single real, as I think it's called, for a single euro, which is, economic crash. And then the protests happened, and then like people started getting hurt. They were shooting people with like, shotgun pelts. You see like little teenage like guys, girls, both genders. Girls got it the worst. I'm not saying like guys got it they got any fair, preferential treatment. It's just like when you're a girl, you're your bones are softer, and like you're getting hit with like weapons and um, shotgun pellets, rubber pellets, or whatever, and then they whip out the maces and like I think they're using tear gas, and then subsequently they just ramped it up, live ammunition, using knives, terror tactics, waiting in hospitals to like catch people who are like protesters and then kill them there. Some real insidious shit, man. Sometimes, no, sorry, not sometimes, a lot of the times they would ransom the families. I'm not necessarily too keen on like the burial practices of Islam, but apparently like they're against preservatives on the body. Embalming, that's what it's called. So they gotta get they gotta get it like really fast. So like when the regime is basically holding them hostage, well, the hostage, what the fuck do I say, holding their dead family members as ransom. Fuck, like I know like the word is isn't hostage, but it's technically a hostage, right? Even though like they're not, they passed on. But you got to talk about these things because it's like it's so often that people who have such righteous indignation ignore stuff like this. You'll holla at your boy Harry Styles and all the other people who are bringing this shit up when no one else was talking about it. Yeah, man. Harry Styles, and like some people bandwagons after that, and like I'm not gonna hold it against them to like for going on the ship late. It's better late than never, and then, like it's more important to like figure this shit out and help these people like set up charities, help them out as refugee status. Like I said, like these people are genuinely refugees, genuine refugees. Like they have a totalitarian government, an economy that's like crashing, a militaristic, police force that has no accountability. They're cutting off the internet access to the entire world from the world. Like they have it, but they have to get it from VPNs or like smuggle it in somehow. I think Starlink is up in Iran. I'm not too sure. You might want to check up on that. But like, yeah, people are pissed, man. Like this shit's been going on ever since I was young and shit. Where you have like these very much loser ass guys, and the way they operate, their modus operandi is, oh, I'm Islamic. I'm part of this like force, this fear of people. Therefore, if you were to touch my women, if you were to like do anything to me, like I have to retaliate. But if I do it to you, it's okay because it's like I could just say it's racist, right? And they played this fucking hustle for years. Ladies and gentlemen, when I say to the guys in my watching my video, right? Do this behind the VPN, by the way. I don't want no fucking views. But if you want to comment, whatever, right? I don't want no money. I don't want no fame. I don't want people talking about my name unless it's like, whatever. It helps them out, I guess. I don't want no nothing, right? Because I think one of the things that have plagued, especially the younger generations, is that idea that you have to fit that mold, You have to be famous. You have to be important. You have to be special. To make money, to an extent, that is true. But I think it's more important to be genuine because these are the moments in our lives that a lot of people are going to gloss over. Like this conflict is very much something that will encompass the rest of our lives forever. Like it's going to, it's going to be a discussion pretty much every, what is it? The Muslim New Year, right? So Eid Mubarak and stuff or something like that. And like they're going to, go over like, how many people have left their religion in Persia, because it's like they're not going to want to call their country Iran anymore. Let's just like put it behind us. The whole Stan thing, Khalistan, Tajikistan, Afghanistan, Pakistan, like, yo, that's for you people. Nobody wants to like run with that anymore. The Iranian people, the people living in Iran, they want to call their country Persia, and I agree with that. So the Persian people are going to basically like be in a constant conflict with these religious fanatics who for years have dominated, the human race with stupidity, inbreeding, and let's just be honest, like regression, both like genetic and mental. There's nothing to be gained with like furthering their scheme, their country, their military, everything about them is just a decay. And it's sad that like for all the hate that the Israelis get, and like let me be clear, like those Jewish people out in New Jersey, well, I consider them the same level of human as I do those fucking retards that come through on those boats and shit, not maybe not by their actions, like their morality is obviously different, but the fact that like you have one group of people that everybody's paying for, and then you have another group of people doing the exact same thing, right? Like I consider them the same, but I make that distinction because, like, think about it like this: what percentage of the Jewish population went back to Israel to help fight against Hamas? Like, what percentage, right? And now, if you have like like a number inside your head about like how small that is, now think about who's fighting in Iran right now, the Israeli IDF and subsequently the American forces. Now, you see what I'm getting at? Like, why is it okay for so many people to rely on so few, you know? And that's the plague. Like the inbreeding, the retardation, the regression of the human race, the fact that we have basically human beings turned into concubines. Like, yo, shut out a bunch of kids. It doesn't matter what's happening to your physical health and stuff. Um, one of the worries that I have about having kids, right, is you have a wife and she's like, okay, I have my second kid. Let's go for number three or number four. And while she's willing physically to do it, like what's gonna happen to her after the fact and whether she's okay with it or not, like, is up to her. It's not up to me, right? But like, I just don't want that, you know? So, is it so wrong to just replace all these worthless ass people, these genetic dead ends, these people that are more or less parasites with us, with, my genes, your genes, someone who's more capable, who's more willing to correct the wrong of this human race? And there are so many, so many who will call us out and say that we are in the wrong. And especially in the past. Oh my goodness. And now, what can they say? The honorable people of Israel, the brave soldiers of the IDF, of the American naval forces, air forces, etc. God forbid. And no offense to like the Iranian people, like I want your safety above everything. It's just like, as far as conflicts are concerned, I just don't want American troops on the ground in Iran. If the situation calls for that, like it's not up to me. I'm not making that call. I'm just saying what I desire is no troops on the ground. But most likely that's gonna have to happen. We gotta be realistic, ladies and gentlemen. This war is one of the most important wars of our lifetimes. And I gotta touch on the topic of my hatred of Russia and subsequently China. If they step in on this, I'm not necessarily too sure on their naval escalation, if you will. But what's happening right now is around the Indian Ocean, like Iran is more or less getting surrounded by naval assets, both American and Israeli. Isn't that ironic? Everybody's like, yo, hating all the Jews and shit. Where's France? Where's the UK? Where's all of Europe? Where's all of Europe, dude? I'm not gonna hold it against Poland. Like, yo, you gotta defend your borders and shit. You went through a lot. Cyberpunk 2077 sucks. You hear Idris Alba in the background, like, what do you say? I was gonna be James Bond. Yeah, but like, think about that. And I can understand why you wouldn't want to get involved, right? With like the whole Jewish aspect about it and the whole Epstein shit. But let's talk about that for a second. There's a difference between the Jedi Jews, the light side Jews, and the dark Jews, the dark side. Jews from the dark side, the Epstein side, the Weinstein side. You know, they weren't good little Jewish boys. They yelled at their mothers, and now look what happened to them. The dark side, the dark side took them, just like their mom said. Oh man, like, isn't it ironic of all people? Like, and like, yeah, they have a stick to put their foot in those wars. Like, yo, you can't. They came at them, right? It's more or less a retaliation. It's like you had this coming. You know, your days were numbered. Um, First, let's talk about the difference between the political parties in Israel. Subsequently, before the incident in October 7th, when the Palestinian Hamas came in and attacked and raped and killed all these innocent people, and we can't downplay that, because the truth about that conflict is those people were subhuman. They lacked the ability to exist outside of their own means. They require a, a more diverse genome. And I'm not saying like Israelis are 100%, free from it. It's kind of like this practice that they both have, which you have to look down on. You have to frown upon, because in the past you could just excuse it and be like, oh, it's their way of life. Oh, they'll figure it out. But when it affects you, it's kind of your problem. You know what I mean? Like, if it wasn't my problem, why am I paying for it? Why am I dealing with it? Why am I, faced with the reality that, subhuman beings, creatures are created to further the gains of this theological stupidity, this illusion that and like the thing about the Jews that they really don't want you to know, the dark Jews anyway, it's like their worship of this like pagan symbol called Baal. Like harvests and shit. And I'm like, wait, from Diablo? The words of destruction? And it's like, yo, when you think about it, you put two and two together, it's like, the dark Jews with their pornography and Epstein and like the island with all the little girls and the pedophilia and human sacrifice and all that bullshit. It all goes back to Baal, and they even have like a ball Baal, Baal. I was gonna call him Ball, right? That's how his name is. Calling him Baal as in like you know from Elden Ring Shadow of Your Tree. Baal? No, it's Ball. And like as far fetched as it sounds, right? To like bring up this, ancient pagan symbol. Like, they keep bringing him up, and even during the course of like the kings of Israel, or sorry, Judea. I forget the name of their northern country. But they were separate, but they're also Jewish. So it's weird. They were worshiping this guy because it's like they were an agricultural society that required, yeah, they just wanted rain. So, to worship this guy, human sacrifices, orgies, uh, forget the other one. I think that was about it. Maybe some other like sick, twisted shit, and that like plays into their whole idea of like, so we all have like a very strong, mostly because of anime, a very strong image of like the devil, the Antichrist. Like, we know what it is. But Bale's more like nuanced and shit. Into something like fucked up, like antithetical, anti-logical kind of shit. It's like, what the fuck are you doing? Some gay ass shit, man. No, for real, for real. Oh man, hey. If that's your preference, I'm not trying to throw shade. I'm just trying to say, like, historically speaking, right? Because we're dealing with the conflict in Iran right now. What is Bale? What is all these like dark Jews and all these shit has to have? Like, what does this have to do with anything? It's like, think about it. Like, think back to like what happened in Iran, right? They actually did that. They were worshiping Baal. I'm serious. Like, look it up. There's this picture of them like, burning this like image of Baal and the Israeli flag and shit. And like, that's yeah, that was it. There was lighting shit on fire in effigy, and sometimes they would like do that with human sacrifices too. Like, gather around. There's this game called Fear and Hunger, right? And I gotta tell you something. Like, not all white people are the same. There are some white people who are like they're frighteningly smart, but they're also peaceful. It's weird. So they're the North people, Northmen, right? They created this game called Fear and Hunger, right? And this sequel to it called Fear and Hunger Termina. And there's this one scene that I always thought was like on the extreme side because I'm like, what is the like cultural parallel? Because this game was like a critique on, the subjection and subjugation from the Catholic Church by false, you know, people who were basically more or less masochistic, right? So they would do things like, human torture, the Iron Maiden, witch trials, witch burnings, which like exactly how evil could women be outside of like doing the whole abortion thing, right? Where when they're forcefully killing their own babies, like I don't see how women could be evil back in those times. Maybe I'm just being naive and like the whole superstition behind it, but like I just see it as like an overreach of like evil men using the guise of religion to do as they please. And Judaism is no different, right? You have good Jews, guys who are going out there. I mean, they have a stick to fight these Iranian regimists, right? They have the best reasons. They were attacking themselves, but like think about the heroism of it. You're up against like God knows how many more people than you, and then all the Middle Eastern countries like Afghanistan, Pakistan, like they reinforce, like you know, like India might help out if that's the case, but like that's just gonna like drag out to be like one of those bloody ass landlocked conflicts basically, where it starts off in the sea, but then it very much enters like the whole urban city landscape type issue, and it's going to be more or less a parallel to the Iraq War. Sadly. Sadly. The ubiquitous nature and the cowardice of the Iranian regime to, like, dress as plainclothes civilians and then carry, assault firearms, whatever, and kill people and this and that. Like, this is going to be a conflict that is fought by real men, and as the rest of us, we have to either give them our moral support and call out the cowardice of the weak, the ones who allowed this to happen. Remember, they need us. The people of Persia. Take care.